Jeffrey Trail had become Andrew Cunanan's first victim. May the 2nd, Rush City, Chisago County.
I was on patrol in the morning and I got a call from our dispatchers. They told me to meet 2 fishermen. They were scouting an area to put a tent so they could come up to fish the next weekend. And when they looked down by the lake, they saw what they thought was a body. This is the crime scene. The fisherman stopped right about here and just pointed down toward the lake where they said the body was. He was like right there, boom. So we didn't know who we had here until we put out a teletype to surrounding agencies that we had an unidentified deceased white male, and Minneapolis police called us back shortly thereafter and said that they were looking for a person that matched that description by the name of Dave Madsen.
David Madsen was now victim number 2. Police on the scene pieced together how events unfolded.
They drove their car down the hill together, and David was still alive at the time. They turned this way and then backed in here and had a conversation in this area for some time. At some point in the conversation, David must have realized that he was in some sort of trouble with Mr. Cunanan, and so he jumped out of the car and ran this direction. Andrew Cunanan shot him in the back. He fell face down onto the ground, at which time Andrew Cunanan turned him over and shot him.
You think you know somebody. The person we thought we knew was long gone.
Less than a week after leaving his ex-lover dead in Rush City, Cunanan's rampage gathered pace and took him 450 miles southeast to Chicago and to the door of 72-year-old property millionaire Lee Miglin and his most vicious slaughter so far. Andrew Cunanan's killing spree had begun in Minneapolis, where he had bludgeoned to death his first victim, Jeffrey Trail. 60 miles north, and former lover David Madsen had lost his life on the banks of Rush Lake. Now Cunanan's rampage would take an even darker turn. May the 3rd, Chicago, Illinois. Lee Miglin was a wealthy property developer, well respected and well recognized in the city. No one is sure what drove Cunanan to his door, although some speculate that they had met years before in California. Whatever Cunanan's motivation, revenge, retribution, or simply robbery, at some point over that May weekend, Miglin succumbed to what his elderly mother described as a worse death than Christ.
Cunanan overpowered Mr. Miglin, tied him up, put a sheet over him and tortured him.
This was a very cruel death. In fact, in some ways, much crueler than the death of his 2 friends earlier.
The way that Cunanan killed Mr. Miglin is quite different from how spree killers often kill their victims. This was not an indiscriminate shooting. This took thought, and he took pleasure from this, and he engaged in overkill. He'd now crossed the Rubicon and was killing for the pleasure.
Lee Miglin had become Andrew Cunanan's 3rd victim. And now the FBI had entered the chase. 3 dead bodies had earned Cunanan the label armed and extremely dangerous. He continued to evade capture, despite the trace on Miglin's car phone.
Cunanan takes off in Miglin's Lexus. Police are able to establish the movement of the car through its phone, which Cunanan has started using.
A countrywide APB had been issued for Cunanan's arrest. Radio News reported that the killer was travelling in Miglin's distinctive Lexus. Cunanan needed another vehicle at any cost. May the 8th, Pennsville, New Jersey, 765 miles from Chicago. A resting place for hundreds of Civil War soldiers and a hiding place for a spree killer on the run.
Finn's Point was so secluded, miles and miles off of the main highway that drove through that area.
Finn's Point Cemetery is normally very quiet and peaceful.
Cemetery caretaker William Rees had worked at Finn's Point for 15 years.
Bill and I did a lot of stuff together. We hung out together, performed Civil War reenactments and long drives, long talks.
Bill was a very special person. He was kind, very dedicated person also. He was very faithful. He would be here right at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he would spend a full day here. Bill was just a part of us. Bill was there for us, and we were there for Bill. We were more like siblings than we were, you know, workers.
Enormously funny, and a laugh that was infectious beyond words. He was, and his face lit up when he laughed.
It was a cool, dark day that I remember, and it was, you know, I had to, when I left, I don't know why I had a feeling, but I had a feeling there was something wrong.
I was sitting in the living room, and my wife and kids were on the couch. It was near evening. Bill's brother Bob called, and I answered the phone, and Bob said, I don't know how to say this, but Bill was shot and killed.